So here we see the structure of the stigma, and the style and the ovary will be at the bottom. So the structure is that of the pistil. The surrounding structure that you see with the red anthers is that of the stamens. And here we say that the pistil consists of an ovary enclosing one to many ovules. So this is the structure of ovary at the base, and it is consisting of white colored ovules that you can clearly see in the diagram. Within ovules, a megaspore mother cell undergoes meiosis and produces 4 megaspores, and these megaspores are haploid structures. Usually, only one megaspore develops into a highly reduced female gametophyte termed as embryo sac. So, जो monosporic plants होते हैं, monosporic plants के केस में हम देखते हैं that only one megaspore is developing. Basically, there are 4. Out of those, 3 are diminished. They are not functional anymore, and rest 1 that is left is developing itself into the megaspore, and that is further developed into the female gametophyte, and it is called as the embryo sac. So this is the structure of female gametophyte. Here we can see that there is the chelazal end, there is the micropylar end. Basically, it is the inverted structure of the embryo sac. There will be the presence of various cells inside, that is a central cell, there is an egg cell, and there are various nuclei, that is they are having 8 nuclei and 7 cells. Let us further see its explanation. Each embryo sac has a 3-celled egg apparatus comprising 1 egg cell with 2 synergids, 3 antipodal cells and 2 polar nuclei. So here you can see the 3-celled egg apparatus. There is the presence of 3 antipodal cells, and there will be the presence of the 2 polar nuclei in the center, and there is exactly the number of 7 cells and 8 nuclei. So the structure of embryo sac is called as 7-celled and 8-nucleate structure. The polar nuclei eventually fuse to produce a diploid secondary nucleus. So the polar nuclei that are present in the central cell, they will be fusing with one of the male gamete and produce the secondary nucleus. Pollination. The pollen grains after dispersal from the anther are carried by wind, that is anemophily, or by water, that is hydrophily, or various other biotic agencies like animals such as zoophily to stigma of a pistil. And when the pollen grains interact with the pistil, or that is with the stigma part of the pistil, it is called as the pollination process. We see that there can be various sources of pollination. Simple source we see that of butterfly. हम छोटे होते स्टोरीज में भी पढ़ते हैं कि जो बटरफ्लाई होती है वो फ्लावर के ऊपर जाके बैठ जाती है. लेकिन what is the reason behind it? Basically, when the butterfly is coming close to the stigma, it is sucking the nectar from it. And after sucking the nectar, it also comes in contact with the pollen grains of the particular flower. It goes to the next flower for sucking the nectar, and again over there it will shed the pollen grains on the stigma of that flower. And here we see that when the pollen grains come in contact with the stigma, they will form the pollen tube. So here the pollen grain falls and the stigma is leading to the production of the further pollen tubes. Through this pollen tube, the pollen grain will, or the male gametes will enter inside the ovary. The transfer of the pollen to the ovule in the ovary is not direct and hence called as indirect pollination. The pollen grains germinate on the stigma, and that would lead to the formation of the pollen tubes that grow through the tissues of stigma and style and reach the ovule. After that, there will be the pollen tubes that enter the embryo sac, where two male gametes are discharged. The male gamete 1 and the male gamete 2. The first male gamete will be interacting with the egg cell and will lead to the formation of the embryo, whereas the second male gamete will interact with the central two polar nuclei and will lead to the formation of the endosperm. So here we see the explanation. The male gamete 1 will interact with the egg cell and lead to the formation of the zygote, and it is called as syngamy, which will further lead to the formation of embryo. Next we have the male gamete 2 that leads to the interaction with the diploid secondary nucleus and further leads to the formation of the endosperm, and it is also called as the triploid primary endosperm nucleus because it has 3 nuclei present in it. 2 were already there in the embryo sac and 1 comes as the male gamete, and hence it is also called as the triple fusion. Now as we see here, there is the involvement of 2 fusions. One fusion is with the egg cell, the other fusion is with the diploid secondary nucleus, and hence it is called as double fertilization. The fertilization is siphonogamous oogamy. What do we understand by this? The zygote develops into an embryo with 1 or 2 cotyledons, and the primary endosperm nucleus, also called as PEN, develops into the endosperm, which provides nourishment to the developing embryo. The synergids and the antipodals degenerate after fertilization. बेसिकली synergids और antipodals का जो मेन फंक्शन होता है वो होता है नरिशमेंट ऑफ द डेवलपिंग एम्ब्रियो. Once there is the formation of embryo, the synergids and antipodals will degenerate after fertilization. During these events, the ovules develop into the seeds and the ovaries develop into the fruit. So here we can see the structure of the flower in which there is the presence of ovary, and ovary is getting converted into the fruit. On the other end, we see the ovule present inside and it is developing into the seed. Based on the number of cotyledons in the seed, the angiosperms are divided into 2 classes, that is the monocotyledons and the dicotyledons. The dicotyledons are characterized by having 2 cotyledons. So di, the term means 2, and cotyledons we know. So there are 2 cotyledons and hence the dicot plant. So we see in the case of gram, जो हमारा काला चना होता है उसमें हम क्या देखते हैं कि वो 2 पार्ट्स में डिवाइड हो सकता है, and that structure is that of the dicot seed. The monocotyledons have by having only 1 cotyledon in their seeds. So we see the structure of wheat. जो wheat का seed होता है, it cannot be divided into 2 cotyledons, and that is why it is the monocot plant. Similarly with the maize भी हम 2 पार्ट्स में डिवाइड नहीं कर सकते, 2 cotyledons नहीं होते उसके, and hence it is a monocot. I hope you understood the explanation. Thanks for watching. Hello everyone, welcome to eDufundae. I am your mentor for the topic Angiosperms from the plant kingdom. So what are angiosperms? In angiosperms, commonly called as the flowering plants, the ovules are present inside the ovary of gynoecium. So while we split the term angiosperm, the term angios means enclosed and sperma means seed. So the seeds are enclosed in case of angiosperms. Basically, जो covering होगी seed की, वो होगी ovary, and the ovary is a structure that we find in the flower. So these are the plants that are the flowering plants. So here is the display of few flowering plants over here, and they are the angiosperms. The pollen grains and the ovules are developed in the specialized structures called as flowers. So these are the pollen grains and this is the ovule, and it is found inside the flowers. In angiosperms, the seeds are enclosed in the fruits. So here is the structure of a fruit we can see, and inside it is the presence of seeds. But initially in the embryonic stages, the particular seed was nothing but the ovule, and it was covered by ovary. Now it is matured, so the ovule part has become the seed and the ovary part has become the fruit. The angiosperms are embryophytic, they are non-archegoniate, they are vascular, fruit-bearing, phanerogams or the spermatophytes. So these are the characteristics of the angiosperms. They will be embryophytic, that means there will be the stage of embryo in the plant life cycle. Then they are non-archegoniate, that means like the gymnosperms, the bryophytes, pteridophytes, archegonia was there. But here no archegonia is present. Now next thing is they are vascular. Vascular means they have the proper vascular system of the xylem and phloem bundles. They are fruit bearing and they will have fruits because these fruits will be developed from the flowers, and they are the phanerogams or the spermatophytes. That means they are the seed producing organisms and they are termed as the spermatophytes. Angiosperms are an exceptionally large group of plants occurring in wide range of habitats. They range in size from tiny, almost the microscopic wolfia to the tall trees of eucalyptus. So we say it is the smallest or the tiniest plant, that is of wolfia, and they can be as large as eucalyptus trees that can grow up to 100 meters. So you can see the tiny structure of wolfia in the diagram, and here we have the next structure, that is of eucalyptus, and they are very tall. They can be up to the height of 100 meters. Next we see that they provide us with food, fodder, fuel, medicines and several other commercially important products to meet our day-to-day life. So इससे हम ये समझते हैं कि ये बहुत ही ज़्यादा economic importance रखते हैं in our system. Now these are various products that are provided by the angiosperms. In these plants, root system is taproot or adventitious type. So adventitious roots can also be there and taproots can also be there. The main conducting elements of the xylem are the vessels and the phloem consists of companion cells. In case of gymnosperms, the vessels and companion cells were absent, but in case of angiosperms, they are present. The main reason is these are the flower producing organisms and they require more of the water and minerals, and that is why the vessels are present in xylem for the proper conduction of water and minerals, and the companion cells are present in case of phloem to provide the better food and nourishment to all the parts of the. Here we can see the structure of the vascular bundle, in which the phloem is having the sieve tube with the companion cell present in it. The companion cell has the nucleus which governs the function of the sieve tube, and this is present in the case of angiosperms. Next we see that the flowers develop with usually a conspicuous perianth. What is a perianth? Here in the representation is the presence of a tube, that is the perianth tube. It is the outer part of a flower consisting of the calyx, that means the sepals, and the corolla, that is the petals. The male sex organs in a flower are the stamens. So here is the structure of stamen, that is comprising of the anther and a style. Each stamen consists of the slender filament with an anther at the tip. So the brown colored structure that you see over here is the anther, and the tube-like structure, the slender filament-like structure that is moving down is the filament. In the anthers, the microspore mother cells undergo meiosis and produce pollen grains. So here we can see there is the presence of these tiny pollen grains. The female sex organ in a flower is the pistil or the carpel. So they are synonyms, we can name any of it.